Miss Hepburn, how long has it been since you've been back here in the country?
About a year and a half.
And are you glad to be back?
Oh, I'm thrilled. I'm really very, very happy. I always love being here. And it's marvelous to see our friends again, and the sunshine, and being back at Warner's.
Well, now, we hear about working conditions in Europe, and we've heard both sides. We've heard that the American producers go over there to save money, and when it is all over with, perhaps they haven't saved that much money, that the working conditions are difficult. Tell us about it. How do you find it by comparison?
Well, perhaps I'm not the right person to ask because I'm not a producer, and I don't know about that side of the business.
Where do you feel more comfortable? Let's put it that way, as a performer.
I think it's too difficult a question to answer because as you know, I am a European and I was brought up over there and I have many friends and know a lot of the people I work with, and I adore working both places, and I'm not just trying to avoid answering your question. I've had, very happy times working in Paris or Rome, some of the great times doing the Nun story in Rome.
In other words, some of the difficulties in production don't rub off.
I think definitely that this is a place that is really geared for making motion pictures, and you have fewer
Here in the United
complications
States,
technically, yes. But I depend a great deal emotionally on the atmosphere when I work, on the people I work with, and I'm less aware of technical difficulties being an actress and not a director or an art designer or a producer.
In other words, those things really don't bother you.
And I've very sincerely, I've been very, very happy both in Europe and here.
Tell me this, when you're given a script and asked to decide, do you want to do this, what is it that makes you decide one way or another? How do you know that the part is right for you?
It's very hard to say. I just like it, or it doesn't strike me as anything I particularly would like to do.
Does it ever boil down to just the business end of it? In other words, you say, is this a good thing business-wise?
Have I ever done a picture that I didn't like for the money?
Yes, for the money.
Never. No, I've never done that. No.
Do you think that perhaps too many performers today do, and therefore jeopardize their career?
I've never spoken to them. I don't know for what reasons they accept the pictures. I think most people and most performers in general, have a dream when they start a picture and think they have something very, very good, and very often part of the quality falls by the wayside for some reason or other, or even if they make a good picture, the audience doesn't always like it. It's a very tenuous, elusive thing,
It's a very fickle business.
And I don't know if it's so fickle. It so much goes with the times, and something the public liked, let's say, 5 or 10 years ago, might not appeal to them now, and it's very
Do you
hard.
actually
That's what's
decide?
also very exciting about the business we're in. You can't predict. You can try, and you can follow your instincts and do the best you can.
Do you follow your instincts? Do you say to yourself, this is what I like and this is what I want to do, and is the decision yours, or does someone help you make the decision?
I do follow my instincts. That's all I have to go by, because I do not have a great deal of experience. I don't have a great deal of knowledge. And
a great deal of talent.
I was born, thank you. I was born with my own instincts, which I try to stay true to. And
you find
so
that difficult?
It's made me very happy. So
is it difficult in this business to stay true to your instincts?
It's never been hard for me, and that's where I'm saying that humbly. I'm saying that I'm one perhaps a rarely fortunate person, because I've followed my instincts and they've brought me nothing but blessings and good fortune and terribly kind people to work with, and so far it's been all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Harrison, we often hear perhaps that the stars in pictures, particularly the big stars like yourself, ask too much, too many concessions, become too difficult. Is this an exaggeration, or is it a prerogative?
What a question. Well, speaking for myself, I am a theater actor primarily, who makes films, and I believe that there should be discipline, as there is in the theater. Is that correct? That's the answer
I
you
was
wanted.
wondering, for instance, when you were doing Cleopatra, I understand that there were some concessions you asked and that you were among the difficult stars. Now, we hear this about a lot of stars, so I think some of this can be perhaps discounted, but I'd like to hear your comment on it. Are stars generally difficult? Is that part of the trade?
Tell me, from whom did you hear that I was difficult in Cleopatra?
It seemed to me I read a recent article in
Who
one
wrote
of
it, you
in one of the magazines.
I think I would say I was the least difficult star in Cleopatra.
But as I say, does a star have to be difficult to succeed? Is this part of the trademark?
I would have thought not. But there's always the odd one who probably feels that they can be, but I don't approve of it myself.
Do you anticipate any problems in the making of Fair Lady that might be similar to those that were experienced in Cleopatra?
I sincerely hope not.
Let me ask you this. You had done the part of Henry Higgins for so long.
Yes.
When you come to making a picture about it, is it old stuff or is it a new and refreshing experience?
Well, it's new and refreshing because I haven't done it for about 3 years, and it's a different medium. So I'm terribly excited about it.
There are still some challenges left in making films?
Oh, yes, very much so.
If you had your druthers, which would they be? Would you prefer to make films, or do you like the legitimate theater?
Well, I think it's wonderful that you're able to do both. But you're asked to do both, actually.
Do you feel that there are some parts that are yours that become you? Do you decide that this is the part for me and this is what I can do best?
Well, I think it's very difficult to answer that one. I think that if you do accept a role, you've got to be very careful that you can, within the confines of the part, draw it into yourself. If you know what I mean.
Yes. You've worked the British theater frequently.
Yes.
We hear sometimes, perhaps, that the working conditions here in the American film industry are far better. And there are those who say they're not nearly as good. What's your comment on that?
Well, I think that there are no greater technicians than in the American studios, and I think the working conditions here are quite wonderful. And I would say then that if you want to make what Warner said today, I think that if you want to make a really first-rate picture, there's no better place to make it than here.
Thank you.
Hello there.
Mr. Warner, I'd like to ask you this question. Do you feel that, or do you anticipate any of the kinds of problems that were experienced during the making of Cleopatra?
No, just to the contrary. We do not, because our picture is being made here virtually in stages, few exteriors on the very lot. You can control your light, you can control your weather, and you control every human problem. There's equation where, of course, where the human equation comes into it, where you can't control. People may be ill.
What about the money situation? Can you control that? What do you anticipate spending?
The film, as I said before, will cost approximately $12 million, taking in the cost of the play itself, which was $5.5 million.
What do you have to do to make money?
Well, we have to, there's a yardstick that's been known for years in motion pictures. You double your income. But of course, I explained this easily, I believe. The larger the cost, the more the cost, the sooner you can break for a profit. You don't have to do double on a $12 million picture. I believe you can break even in about 20 to 21 to something in that area.
Let me ask you this. Do you like the look of the Hollywood film art today as it is? I didn't say industry.
No, that's right. The industry's putting automobiles together, rubber tires and plastic. That's an industry. Motion pictures are creative art. A lot of people don't want to admit it.
You like what you see today?
Yes, I do.
Out of Hollywood?
Yes, I've been attending meetings with other heads of studios and producers, actors, writers, directors, and there's a tremendous excitement about the thing. I tell you why. This is a fact. I feel it is anyway, that with the advent of television and other component parts of entertainment, amusement, baseball, football, whatnot, that is really in opposition to the motion picture theater. The motion picture itself has proven in the last 6, 8, 10 years that if you have the right subject, you can I can say you can almost do 10 times the gross that we did 25 years ago.
Let me ask you this. Is there too much business and not enough art in the making of films today?
To the contrary, there's a combination of both. You must, in doing anything, I don't want to bring Renoir or Gauguin or one of the great artists, contemporary artists, of course. But they, too, while they were strictly artists, they still had some sort of a business acumen. In other words, Renoir couldn't stand around all day painting this picture if he couldn't sell it for a profit. So he can pay for the food, the lodging, the clothes, the coal, the oil. So you really have to have a combination, a slight amount of business and a great deal of art.
More challenge today than there was 25 years ago?
Yes, a greater challenge because of the enormous costs of everything, not only in the motion picture business, but in all business. You know that. Cost of everything has gone up, rightfully so. Labor is getting a better share of its deserved finance because
it's just illegal. My lawyers found that there'd been a slight mistake. So it was put right, and is now correct.
You're very happy with it as it stands now?
The lawyers are. I was never unhappy. I just was they made a slip up in the contract, you see.
Do you believe that Cleopatra is going to be one of the greatest films we've seen thus far?
No idea. I haven't seen it. I'm going to New York on the 12th. I hope it'll be very good.
Well, anyway, I refer to the lovely Eliza Doolittle, Miss Audrey Hepburn. Well, that's pretty good. Now, the gentleman who created the role of Professor Henry Higgins in the original play in New York, and who is one of the finest actors in any field. I am proud to present Mr. Rex Harrison, who will repeat his role. I personally, speaking for my company, our company, that we are highly in favor of making films right here in the film capital, for the want of another name. And I look with great enthusiasm, and I know the ladies and gentlemen of the cast, the technical end of it, and Mr. Beaton, Hermes Pan, Harry Stradling has made many pictures here. They were supposed to be in Siberia, but we did them on stage 4. We have the same snow here as in Siberia, only you're not locked up here. All agree on, as My Fair Lady. In 100 years, there have been only 4 musical shows to sweep the world with popularity. Orpheus in 1860, I wasn't there. The Fledermaus in 1870, I was there in 1910, about when I saw it in Berlin. The Merry Widow, there are a lot of people here who saw that in 1904. And now My Fair Lady. That's it. Now you can read the rest yourself. But I just want to add that to my few words. It wasn't on these cards. If it was, it's in indelible ink. I will at this time introduce some of these people who are to appear in the film, and if they will please just acknowledge my introduction at this time, and later at the conclusion of my words, introductions rather, members of the press, you ladies and gentlemen, if you will, sort of a question and answer period for as long as you desire, whatever the ladies and gentlemen can and will be glad to tell you. It means, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I mean. See, when it gets on television, you can get a hinge of it. It's been reissued 4 times, and we probably, I don't know if it's on television or not. I forgot to say, I said it rather rapidly. He will repeat Henry Higgins in our film, My Fair Lady. Now, there's another gentleman who we were very happy to make a contact, and through circumstances, he is going to recreate his role as he did in the original play in New York. Alfred Doolittle, I don't know if it's junior or senior, none other than a very fine gentleman, a great artist, Stanley Holloway. And the role of Mrs. Higgins. call open it up. You know what open up is, honey. You've been married. Double-edged, sir. But however, it's a very important question because without money, you just get out of the crap game when you lose the dice. And if you don't have any money, you don't even get the game with the dice. But seriously, this film will cost approximately $12 million. That takes in the cost of the play, which has all been publicized, $5.5 million directly for the play itself. And that's about it. No, we will not do like Cleopatra. We're going to wear clothes in our picture. What kind of lousy crack is that? Is this being recorded? All right, thank you, young man. You're very clever.
At what point do you have to give seat?
I want this guy to get me on that easily. Were you on yet?
No, I don't go on.
There.
I do the escort scene. I go to do it in the same rhythm as in the play, or you do 3 or...
Well, we're not going to do it quite what they call an opening and closing and a half. Seriously, for just a moment, when we originally purchased this particular property, it was our intention to produce this in England, London, where we were affiliated with the Associated British Cinemas Company. We have been for, since 1940. And I was told and didn't believe that we couldn't make a particular English picture here in our studios in Burbank because we have the technicians, we have the facilities, we've done it 1 or 1,000 times. As a slight example, going way back, we made 2 big sea stories here, of British background, England, of the period. First one was Seahawk, or rather, the first one was Captain Blood with the late Errol Flynn, and followed up with Seahawk. We never left the stage over here. You can see it where we're building the Coventry Gardens right now, stage 7. There were 2 ships that were mechanically, hydraulics and whatnot. A very costly operation, but very, very well done. I think you folks who saw the films will believe that we went to sea. We didn't leave stage 7. That's not this is still a great industry of make-believe in a professional way. You can't make believe by being an amateur. That's understood, myself or anyone else. But we have the talent. Many people said we couldn't get the proper English extras and whatnot. You can. There are many English people here. There are in London, in pictures, I mean. I was a little clever, but I didn't get away with it. But true, you have everybody here. If not, we may bring some people from England. Is that right, George? I think I heard you say that one day. We may bring certain particular characters that you cannot get here, which will be wonderful, because many of our people go to London. It's not our policy, our company's policy, not to make pictures in foreign countries. To the contrary, I say we're making pictures in, 6 months out of 24, out of 12 rather, throughout the world in one form or another, and financing them, producing them ourselves or whatnot. And it would be very, very off base if I would make a statement that we do not contemplate making pictures on the actual locale. Of course we will. Everyone has, they will, and they will continue. But Reverend, you did Gigi in American in Paris, right at, were you in American in Paris?
No, just Gigi.
Gigi right at MGM, didn't you? That looked like Paris to me when I saw it. And I've been in Paris twice. And I'm very perturbed to read in any paper or see on television, especially a television very vital name, Chevy in there around between 5 and 7 at night with a lot of cornball junk knocking motion pictures, people who made their living by it, people who raised families by the motion picture, people who owe everything in one form or another to their livelihood and their life in motion pictures. I know, I speak for myself. I owe everything to that little hunk of celluloid that Thomas Edison made roll in 1902, I think is the correct date. Because I was in it in 1903. Don't get it around. I got a crutch outside in order to get out of here. But however, I was there. And I've seen it come. I've seen it go. I see people come. I see people go. Failures, successes, frustrated, people with and without talent. If you have talent, you can make good in any walk of life. But if you haven't talent, you immediately start blaming it on the control of Hollywood. We can't get in the studio. I got nothing but uncles, cousins. Oh, I haven't got any uncles or cousins. They're all dead. No, I got 2 cousins walking around. They can't get in. But seriously, I will appreciate why I'm doing this in what I consider a semi-humorous vein. It's not altogether humorous with me because I'm very sincere and feel this very, very much. Not because of the money that you make in the thing, but we are entrusted with this celluloid to do something with it. Give this kid another drink. Not just go on keeping everybody in the gutter, beating people down, and I'm talking about certain films. We made them too, and I imagine we'll make some more. But our films were great, and they still are great, and they'll be greater. I think the American producers have learned a hell of a lesson to get away, to stop aping the Italian and the French and the Spanish and other undesirable films that have caused all this censorship and legions and seals and no seals and art and all that hokey-pokey theaters in order to see things that you couldn't see just a handful of years ago. But anyway, that's the name of the game, and who am I to say don't go on, but it's up to the public.
That wasn't written down, by the way. That wasn't written down.
No, I'm sorry.
What we got left?
I didn't plan to ask you this first, Mr. Harrison, but I just read an article about Mr. Wagner about Cleopatra, which I believe you've completed Wanger, not too long ago. And we read several stories about the billing. Could we go into that a little bit? What happened? Was there a mix-up in the billing on Cleopatra? My Fair Lady, and about the sentiments Mr. Warner expressed here this noon. Are you pretty well in concord with those?
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harrison.